So I wanted to rant a little bit about this concept of why it's mandatory to own your own distribution channels and customers. And I suppose we should,
which is a direct business model.
Which is a direct business model. And I think the reason for this, why I'm so charged up about this, is you and I assumed this was common knowledge. It is not common knowledge. It is not common knowledge. And let me give you sort of the intro, the easiest way to think of it. If you, an artist, or you, a photographer, with your business decided, I need to raise a little bit of money to go to the next level, and you walked into a bank and said you needed a loan, or you walked into a VC's office, a venture capitalist that you would go and raise money for a business, and said, my business is selling art or photography. I sell it online and offline, but I don't own any of my own customers and I don't own any of my own traffic. Meaning I sell through galleries, they control all the customers and the traffic. I sell through online galleries, Etsy, Saatchi, Fine Art, any of those. They control all the customers, they set all the rules. And I don't own any of my customers myself. You would get laughed out of the room by both of them, by both the bank and by the venture capitalist. And it's not that we're suggesting a photographer or an artist needs to go raise money, or that's a part of what you're doing, but it suggests they would not be inclined to give you money because the odds of that business surviving are not worth investing in for that. It's not worth investing in. That is not a path to a viable, long-term, sustainable business. It's just not, right? So
yeah, and it's, here's the thing is that like anybody that's ever ran a business in any industry knows that there's only one way that you want to go, and it's direct. Right. End of story. End of story. You watch Shark Tank, you'll hear Mark Cuban talk about it. Launch your website and sell direct and start marketing direct, right? Like it doesn't matter who you talk to, you build a direct business, right? And so, what we have found though, in our live sessions with non-Art Storefronts members, because every Art Storefronts member is going direct, every single one, because that's what we do, right? Like we're helping them go direct. What we didn't understand is how this isn't even common sense in the art industry, and we need to unpack that. We need to talk about that and unpack that as to why. But and let's do that in a second. But selling direct, is the only way that you end up with consistent income, a business that you can count on. And this is the source of the starving artist problem. I'm telling you straight up, you guys want to know what it is? This is it. This has always been it, right? Because it's like 90 out of 100 people that we talk to are building an indirect business, which is the wrong strategy and is going to end up with no consistency and usually failure. And especially during this pandemic, Pat, right? The pandemic took people that were only selling indirect, like in galleries, and brought them to like $0 in sales, like in a heartbeat, right? All the shows are shut down, all the galleries are shut down. They just got totally shut down, right? And so that is like an extreme example of what happens when you don't sell direct and market direct and have a direct business,
The rug can be pulled out at any time. The light can be shut off, and you can't do a damn thing about it. There's nothing
at any time
about it. Yeah.
And so it's the number one lesson. The number one lesson, guys. You have to get your strategy right up front. If you don't get this right as a photographer or artist, and for those of you that are listening or watching, and you've been wondering why you haven't had consistent sales for the last 5 years or 3 years or 10 years that you've been after it, or like just think about it. You have been probably running an indirect business. You've always been spending your mind share and your thoughts and your energy and even money on selling indirect, right? In other words, you're like, I want more galleries. I want more, online galleries. Like I'm going to upload to all my online galleries and offline galleries. And it's always about third parties. Can I get a distributor? Can I get a commercial, interior designer or something like that? It's always third parties,
Always. Yeah, and we should define distribution channels, right? And so you have your business and you have the sales channels, the distribution channels that you sell in, right? And let's say that you're going to craft shows and fairs, that's one channel. And then you've got sales on your website, that's a channel. And then you've got a gallery down the street, that's a channel. And maybe you've got yourself up on Etsy and that's a channel, right? Like, you only own the ones that you own. Everything else can have the rug pulled out from you in 2 seconds. And it's
Exactly.
it's not sustainable. It is building a castle in a swamp. Okay, that's what it is. It's going to sink down into the swamp. It might be safe for like a couple of weeks or a year, but it's going to sink down into the swamp. You think this is the last pandemic? You think this is the last pandemic? There's no chance.
Exactly. And like, look what's happening right now. Like, the governor of Texas just came out. You know, we're in Austin, Texas. He just came out yesterday and said, hey, I need everybody back at home unless you absolutely have to get out. Like, only for like essentials and emergencies. I want everybody to stay home again. That literally just happened yesterday. So here we are again, right? I mean, and then the governor of New York said yesterday that if you come in from Texas, Arizona, Washington, Florida, there's like
14 days.
Yeah, you have to have a 14-day quarantine in New York. Like, we are not out of this. And then a week ago, there's this salmon coronavirus that emerged in China, and they just locked down all over again, right? And it's like, I don't know what the latest is on that. And that was a week ago, but this is a wild time that we're in. Like, you cannot wait for anything. Like, you should, like, so here's the thing, right? We were on one of our Zoom sessions with non-art storefronts customers providing free art business consulting. And by the way, if that's you, if you need help, guys, we will be doing this tomorrow again, Patrick and I, okay? We're gonna be doing it again. So get on our email list and like us on Facebook so that you can get notified and you can get on the Zoom call and we'll help you for free. We're doing free art business consulting, okay? But we had somebody a couple of days ago, and it's a perfect person to talk about for this, right? She came on and she said, you know, she's like, how are you guys? She's like, okay, all my galleries are shut down and I can't do any art shows, right? How are you guys like Saatchi Art, right? And I sit here and I go, oh my gosh, I'm not going to go into the whole, you know, conversation about how we're different, guys, because we are literally the most opposite you could be from an online marketplace like Etsy, Fine Art America, or Saatchi Art. We are not an online gallery. We are helping artists and photographers build their own individual businesses on their own websites. Without going into further detail on that, I sat here and I said, I could not believe my ears. I could not believe my ears. This gal, she was from Palm Springs, California. I don't know if you remember this one that we talked to, right? And I'm like, you just got the whole rug pulled out from underneath you from third parties. In other words, all these galleries and the shows are shut down, closed, right? And what are you talking to me about? You're asking me for another gallery? Have you not learned your lesson, right? Like, have you not learned your lesson? And she didn't understand. It was the first time that anybody ever told her. She didn't realize that her whole business, she's just running her business. She's just running her art business, right? I'll just do this, right? And I'm like, do you realize that your entire business that you've been operating for the last 5 years is an indirect business strategy, right? And that whole thing is the reason you're in this position right now during this pandemic. You need to understand that because you're about to continue it right now with what you're asking me. You need to understand that the way that you built your business is the reason you are in this position during this pandemic. It's your fault. You didn't understand, you never learned, or nobody ever told you that an indirect business model is the worst way to build a business, and it will always, always fail. You'll always get the rug pulled out from underneath you because you don't own anything, right?
Yeah.
You need to move to the direct business model, right? You need to invest in that. Even if it's the first time you've ever done it, you have to start ASAP because it's the only way, guys. And I think this is the biggest lesson that we can pass to everyone that we talk to. Because if you get this decision wrong up front, like you're literally going years down the road. And it's not like you go to years down that road and you can just jump over, right? You literally lose all of that time. You lose it all. You lose all of that time because whenever you decide to start building a direct business because you finally learn the hard way, when you're going in circles because you might make some progress, you know, you get some galleries to like represent you, but then some of them drop off, right? They don't represent you anymore, or they take less of your work, or they can't get the traffic that they used to, so you don't get as much sales from them, right? All these things happen. And so you're in this hamster wheel, just constantly in this hamster wheel that's going nowhere. And you're like, why is it going nowhere? Why is it going nowhere? It's because you got the strategy wrong right from the start. That's the problem.
I don't even
have to get this right.
I think of it like you know, you're settlers in like the 1300s or like the 1200s or something, right? And you just build your little settlement, and you've got your house there, you've got your crops right next to it, and everything's great, everything's fine until you hear the war drums start beating, right? And the barbarians come, and the barbarians run right in, and they destroy your whole city, and they destroy your whole town, your crops, everything, and then they leave. There's nothing you can do. You have to build a moat and walls. The moat and the walls is when you own your own distribution. So whenever the barbarians are at the gate, i.e. the next pandemic, i.e. more protests that shut everything down, whatever it might be, you've got a moat and you've got city walls. You can defend yourself. Your business is sustainable at that juncture. It's actually infuriating, but the reality is that no one tells you. No one tells you. No one ever tells you stuff. You need to understand, it's not a future. It is not a sustainable future to not control your own distribution channels. And look, if it was extremely difficult to do, I understand, but it's not. It's not. Own a couple of them and market so that you have attention in them. That's it. Every single solitary photographer and artist can and should do it. If you don't do it, you're just leaving your city open. You're just leaving your city open to get conquered whenever something like this happens.
I could take any photographer or artist right now, anyone, right? And if they have problems, like they've hit a wall, I can tie back their problems to this.
Yep.
I can tie back their problems to this every time, where I go, the reason that you've been struggling for so many years is because you didn't understand. Nobody ever told you this. You never learned this about business or entrepreneurship. And it's the saddest thing.
And that's it.
And that's it. It's the saddest thing, having been in the art industry for 20 years, right? And to sit here and see this and you go, I can't believe this. This doesn't happen in any other industry. It's happening in this one. Why? I'll tell you why. It's because you have the art galleries, you have publishers, you've got the online art galleries like Fine Art America and Saatchi Art and all these things. And it's not like anybody's conspired to do this. It's just that I think that photographers and artists just got used to it. They're like, oh, hey, I guess I should just upload to these sites. I guess I'm supposed to just go after galleries.
Everyone else is
doing it. I guess yeah, exactly. What you're doing is you're following sheep off a cliff. That's what you've done. Straight up. Yeah. You have followed sheep off a cliff. And we're stopping it right now. If you're listening to this right now, you're getting gold information, right? Gold information. Because you're literally following sheep off a cliff.
Comments coming in. We are not in the slightest suggesting you ignore the distribution channels you don't control.
No.
But they are part of an overall blended revenue stream. 80% of your revenue, thereabouts, you want from channels you control. The other 20%, if it's performing well, great. We love that. That's fantastic. But you do not do it in lieu of building your own that you own. It's like you and your neighbor, right? And someone explained to you that you need to put money away all the time in a 401k because you're not going to be 30 years old for your entire life, or 25 or 45. You're eventually going to get old and need to retire. And no one told your neighbor. And then all of a sudden you're 65 and it's time to retire. And you're sitting there with this giant pile of cash, and your neighbor is going to be working for the next 10 years of his life because he hasn't saved for retirement. All someone needed to do was come in and tell you, like, look, you have to incrementally put money into this account. If you do that, you're set. You're set. It was that simple. You lived the same lifestyle as your neighbor did. It went on for 25 years, 30 years. They could have done it too. They just didn't know that's how you save for retirement, right?
Yes. It's so you got to get this one right.
No one told them. No one has told these people that you need to do this.
Hence why we were doing this right now, right? And so Shane Dell, there's a comment on Facebook. She said, if I'm a new artist and I'm starting to put my art out, should I try direct and indirect sales or stick with only direct sales? 80% to 100% of your sales should come from direct. Okay. What Patrick and I are saying is the indirect is the gravy, right? You're not out there pursuing galleries, right? If you get some galleries, awesome, amazing, right? Yeah. If you get some third parties who want to sell your artwork for you, congratulations, right? But just understand that will not last forever, and it will go away. 100% guaranteed it will go away, which is why it's not worth your time to be spending money, effort, energy on a channel that can get taken away from you, right? So 90%, if not 100% of your time, I would spend 100% of my time on the direct, period. right? This is, you look at any photographer or artist who's making real money, they are 100% direct. They're not even like 99. They're literally 100, okay? Yep. Because those ones, they have their own galleries. They own their own galleries. They're not even selling in other galleries. They sell from their own art gallery website, and then they sell in their own galleries, and that's the end of it, right? Yep. That's the end of it. And so some of them might sell in some other galleries, some of them, but it's like, what you're talking about, 5% to 10% maybe of their total sales are done through third parties, okay? So you should, Shane Dell, the answer to your question is focus on direct and direct only. And if there's a gallery here or there that contacts you and wants to work with you, or you happen to be walking by one because you're in a mall and you want to say, hey, look at my work, you want to represent it, great, let that happen. But do not put your time, energy, or effort into anything that you don't own. And direct is what you own, okay? That's right. All right,
it takes time to build. It takes time to build.
It takes time to build, of course.
I mean, realistically speaking, 3 to 5 years until you really start running and firing on all cylinders. And then the 7, 8, 9 years is when you like really build a sustainable business. And once you understand that and you start working towards it, you're actually making substantive daily progress in your business, right? Like everyone thinks like, I'm going to get going in month 3. I'm going to have a brand new Mercedes in the driveway, right? Like, tell me who you know that has a brand new Mercedes in the drive, or whatever, a monetary item that you have your heart set on or lust after, right? Who got that in 3 months? No one, except the people in the inheritance business. When you're in the inheritance business, it's a booming. It's a buzz.
Yeah, it's booming.
Aside from that business, there's no one. There's no one. And there's no one that even does it in 2 years or 3 years. They go to jail afterwards. But 3 years to 3 to 5 years start picking up steam. It's not that much time, right? Like, it's really not that much time in the grand scheme of things. It goes by like that. All right, we got to leave it there. Yeah. Do you have anything else?
There's another question on I guess it's YouTube. Yeah. The Forge Done. Do you guys have comparisons of art storefronts compared to other similar solutions like Printful? We are not like Printful. We are nothing like them at all. Nothing to do with them. Not at all. So I would suggest requesting a demo. That's if you're interested in joining art storefronts or looking into more of what we do, request a demo, please. Okay. Because you can go over everything that we do very slowly, in detail with one of the people on our team, and they'll learn about what your goals are and what you're trying to do. And that's the best way to like just understand exactly what we do. The other thing too is when we do one of our live Zoom sessions with non-customers, which we are doing tomorrow, Patrick and I are doing it tomorrow. You can come on and talk to us. So come on and we'll talk to you about what you're up to. Shane Dell, you could do that too.
I'm sending him information on how to get in. I'm doing comments.
Okay, great.
And then Judy, no, there's absolutely not an age limit. Absolutely not. No, people are living it. You could start in your 70s. You could start in your 80s, and you could build an asset that you can actually pass off to someone. We get fired up. I get way too fired.
We are. You know what though? Do you know where this goes back to? Patrick and I started a clothing company when we were 18 together. Okay.
You were 16 and I was 17.
Okay, something like that. All right. But here's the thing though, right? Do you know what drove me nuts back then? And I know it drove you nuts as well. You probably haven't even thought about this. Like, this is how far back we go. And just so you guys know, for context, that's 24 years ago for both of us, 25 years ago. Okay. So, and what drove me nuts is we had to sell through all the retailers at that time. There was no online yet. The internet hadn't happened yet. You and I were forced to go to these trade shows and to convince the individual clothing stores in Southern California to try to try to get them to sell our stuff. Meanwhile, you and I were doing all sorts of direct promotion ourselves, through our friends and through parties and colleges and things like that.
That was the only thing that was working. That was what was working.
It was the only thing that was working, but we had no other way of getting distribution. And so I think that's what set us off right from the beginning of learning the hard lesson. And here we are 24 years later, many, many businesses later, millions and millions, hundreds of millions of dollars in sales later, and like we've lived it in so many different ways. I've lived it with every company that I've started. I've started 6 companies, and so it is such a visceral thing. It's a painful thing. And that's where it comes from, right? Like we've learned the hard lessons. You know, every other entrepreneur and business owner who understands direct versus indirect. We've all been burned by indirect. We've all been burned by indirect. And so we know, like, forget indirect. Like I'm never spending at one point, when you understand this, you will go, I'm never spending a minute on indirect again. I'm tired of it, right? Because when it gets pulled out from underneath you, you're like, what just happened to my life? What, you know? And that's everybody who is reliant on galleries and shows, everyone during this pandemic, you know? And so I want you guys to know the reason that you're in this position is because of a strategic decision that you made or you didn't know you made, where you built your business on sand, which is indirect, rather than on rock, which is direct. And all we care about is helping artists and photographers build businesses that are direct. End of story. If you do this, you will thank us in 2, 3, 4, 5 years. You will be thanking us going, oh my goodness, nobody ever taught me that lesson. I'm so glad. Okay, so tomorrow, what time are we on tomorrow for non-art storefronts customers?
I don't know, did we set it?
No, we haven't set it. Should we, same time? Should we do the same time? Or do you like to do it in the afternoon?
Let's just do the same time. What we do 1 Central, okay. 11 PST, right?
We normally do 9 PS Pacific and 11 Central on the Fridays, but we could do it. We could do the 1. You want to do the 1?
Let's do the 1.
Let's do the 1. All right, guys. So we'll do 11 Pacific, 1 Central, 2 Eastern tomorrow. Okay. If you're not an Art Storefronts customer and you want free art business consulting, tell your friends, anybody else that's struggling, they want some free art business, art marketing consulting. That's what these are for. They're with Patrick and I, right? You get on the Zoom call, we unmute you, and you're able to talk to us directly about what your biggest struggle is, what your number one question is, the number one thing that you think is in your way. That's what we want to know. So think about that and bring that to us. Get on our email list. That's how you're going to get the Zoom link to join us, or like us on Facebook, because Facebook will usually notify you when we go live, okay? Aside from that, for anybody else that is interested in joining Art Storefronts, our summer special is ending at the end of this month. We have a summer special. It's a phenomenal deal to join at a discount, okay? And so if you're interested in that, make sure you request a demo as soon as possible, okay? You can go to our website. It's always in the upper right-hand corner. There's a big button that says request a demo. Is there a link in this post?
Yep.
Yeah, there's a link in this post on Facebook and YouTube. On Instagram, there's a link in the bio to request a demo, okay?
Yep.
Get that in there and get it in as soon as possible too, because it's going to be madness there's only 3 business days left after today, right? So the schedule gets filled, and if you want to get a discount, you want to join, you want to change your art business, get it going, we'd love to have you.
Good, done. We leave it there. I'll see you.
All right, guys. Sell direct. Sell direct.
Sell direct.
Sell direct. All right. Thanks.